We've said this course would try to make a distinction between what's real and what's hype. That our approach would be to look past all that hype and provide a more practical, a more real-world view. Well, the title of this course includes the word innovation, and that's a word that certainly has its share of hype. And that's especially true in the business world. The business world can't talk about innovation enough. How essential it is, how it's in our DNA, and how you too can be innovative in 5 easy steps. Everyone's sure trying to be innovative. And you can make a very good case that business has come to see innovation as the Holy Grail. So it seemed like an article entitled "Innovation is not the Holy Grail" that'd be a good choice to examine things more closely and look past all that hype. And that's why we asked you to read the article by Christian Selos and Johanna Meyer, published in the Stanford Social Innovation Review. The authors present a good case. They argue we need to change the way we think about innovation, and they make an important distinction, that innovation is less about an outcome and more about a process. It's not about one moment of breakthrough. It's actually about hundreds of hours of uncertainty and challenge, and relentlessly working through that uncertainty, gaining knowledge and overcoming that challenge until you're faced with the next one, and then the next one. And that makes sense. We do tend to think of innovation as an outcome, a great product or service. If you think about the iPhone or self-driving cars, GPS, community health workers. But behind every one, there's a process. And if we track that process over time, it wouldn't be a simple straight line. In fact, this graph from The Economist shows us exactly what it would look like, with euphoria as the top line and despair at the bottom, and over time, as we work to develop our innovation, it's a series of ups and downs between those two. Along the way, we run into a series of challenges, things like, wait a minute, it's not proprietary, or our customers don't like the prototype, or oops, we forgot to fund the new technology or tell the boss or senior management. There's always more. So we work each challenge, we deal with the uncertainty and gain the knowledge to find a solution, and we move on. And sometimes we knock the challenges down quickly, and there's a moment of euphoria. And sometimes the challenges knock us down, and we're closer to despair. But innovation is a relentless march forward through the highs and lows of meeting those challenges, of turning uncertainty into knowledge. The authors argue that it's a mistake to focus on innovation as only that last event on the right. Innovation is confronting and solving all of the small, relentless challenges. It's the process. And that process requires distinct characteristics that organizations must nurture and develop. If you're only looking at that last point, just the outcome, you're missing a significant part of the innovation. The authors make another important point about changing the way we see innovation. They argue that ultimately, innovation should lead to impact, and that meaningful impact requires scale. That innovation requires investment. It's not a way to quickly come up with some low-cost idea to shortcut a development cycle. The authors take that graph of the process of innovation, the highs and the lows, and they locate it on a new graphic illustration. And this illustration represents a large part of that innovation process as an investment. It shows that the ultimate goal, meaningful social impact, comes from that innovation and only at scale. And as a result of all this, the authors make one more point, that innovation is anything but easy. It's hard, and we underestimate the difficulty. So where does this leave us? If innovation isn't the Holy Grail, is it close or is it all hype? Where does this discussion place all of us on that euphoria and despair scale? We can take a look. Let's list the concerns the authors raise and think about how we might address them based on what we've discussed in our course. What lessons could we apply? The first concern is that we overvalue innovation, that we get infatuated with the shiny new object and neglect the company's core. The authors cite the Aravind Eye Care Hospital in India as an example. What can help address the concern that the promise of innovation becomes a distraction? Arguably, the most important thing that'll help companies stay focused on the core is to be driven by a clear and strong purpose. And based on that purpose, the very deliberate, methodical process of making a strategic choice on what the priority or material issues are for that company. So, a couple of things we've covered in the course apply well here. The next two concerns are related, so let's look at them together. That we undervalue failure. The authors argue there's much to learn from failure, and aggressively pursuing the next innovation can cause us to miss these lessons, and that it's compounded by the concern that we see innovation as only the outcome and not the process. So what lessons can we apply here? And once more, purpose can help. Always targeting innovation efforts to fulfill a single purpose will drive a consistent organizational focus. That in turn will drive a consistent organizational conversation. And the power of that conversation will be driven by the people participating in it, because they'll come from different parts of the organization. They'll bring a different perspective. They'll bring different skill sets. Some will be leaders in the organization, and some will be managers in the organization. And some will step forward at one point in the process, and others will step forward at other points. And the power of the organization having one conversation, a series of actions focused on fulfilling the purpose, is enormously valuable. The concept of co-creation can also help. Different perspectives from external partners, by definition, will keep organizations from only turning inward for reflections and for lessons. And Babson's entrepreneurial thought and action methodology can also help, assessing the current situation to identify opportunities, make connections, and draw conclusions, always acting based on what I've now learned, what's now available, and what I'm still focused on trying to accomplish. Next, do we underestimate the difficulty of innovation? We agree. We do. There's way too much hype. Don't believe it. Innovation is hard. Be strong, work smart. And finally, the authors caution that innovation can overshadow the ultimate goal, impact at scale, that we ought not get excited about a small tangent. And here again, we agree. Remember, the fundamental distinction of corporate social innovation calls for all of the assets of the company to be engaged on a high priority issue to create new value that is central to the company's purpose, why that company exists. And that's not a small tangent. So, I think we can say there are good reasons to be wary of the hype around innovation. At the same time, there is a strong case for being optimistic that a well-informed, capable team approaching the effort with boldness and humility, applying the lessons from the evolution of this field, and taking a realistic approach to innovation can accomplish a great deal of good. And there's one point I'd like to note. In addition to the article we read, the authors also published related follow-up work on innovation. Some of what we just discussed is taken from this additional follow-up work, so you didn't see it in your reading. Given our time, we didn't ask you to read a number of articles. So we've taken the key illustrations and included them here to help make the points clear. That said, if you are interested in reading more of the work of the authors, we've provided links in the resources section for you.